Yeah. So it's nice to be a gentleman. It's nice to do the right thing. But for him now, the right thing has got to be trying with every ounce of his fibre to win this race. Because if he's doing anything else, he's slow, offline, and dangerous to himself and everybody else at the front of the field. Well, there's our championship leader. It is still Yvan Muller, but now by a 10-point spread over over Rob Huff, and 67 ahead of Aluminium with 125 points still left to be won. Daryl Young, look, he's 10 points behind Avi Veer in the championship. So, you know, every point he gives away in this race, if he does allow people to go by him, Veer gets closer and closer up behind him. It is dark overhead. Bright sunshine, the remainder of the afternoon sunshine is still streaming through the gaps in the clouds. But is that big black cloud going by in the distance, or will it return? There is only one way to find out, and that is to stay with us live from Suzuka. Cars on the formation laps, and almost everybody making it out, apart from, as far as we can tell, Thiago Monteiro, because again, our timing screens appear to have gone a little TU, so I'm afraid it looks as though we've got a pretty much complete grid as they come back quickly once more. Cars coming to the grid at Suzuka. On the far side of your picture is the normal race pit lane. On the near side, incidentally, behind these barriers, that's where they have their little arrive and drive set up. There's a sort of pit lane in there, but it's a bit like an adventure ride at a water park or something. You drive in your little go-karty based single-seater through these concrete channels, step out, next guy steps in, and as soon as the cart in front moves, off you go. It's very, very well organised. So it is Daryl Young who sits on pole position here with Tom Coronel on the left of your picture, driver's right, on the outside of the front row of the grid in his BMW. Behind them, Rob Huff, row 2, behind the pole man, and Yvan Muller, row 2, behind the second row man. Revs rise, and away they go. Good start from Muller, far too much wheel spin from Daryl Young. Muller is up into second, Young is down to 4th or 5th and in trouble as Dahlgren's coming around the outside. Turkington trying to go inside, Nuki trying to go inside, and off goes Young. And I'm afraid that he was just getting into a bigger and bigger hole, and it is starting to rain as the halt and the lame get going from the back of the grid. Coronel leads from Muller and Huff, and Menu behind Dahlgren, and Tarquini in 6th ahead of Nukia, ahead of the yellow BMW. And who was that off in the background? Was that Benani? Yellow flags are out in the first corner. And as Daryl Young got going, yes, no, that's Yuki Taniguchi who's been shuffled way down the order, hasn't he?
Coronel's bolted at the moment, but he needs to try and get clear air because those Chevys are going to start coming online in a bit.
The other thing, of course, is if it starts to rain, he will suffer more than the front-wheel drive cars because the BMW doesn't overheat either end, and it will lose temperature faster than in colder, wetter conditions than the front-wheel drive cars. So he's got to make good his escape as quickly as he dares.
But also the other tough thing for Coronel is with this rain being sporadic around the circuit, he's going to be the first driver who arrives on the scene and finds a slippy track.
Well, with his Japanese knowledge, he may well have been looking at the clouds going, it's going to rain, it's going to rain, it's going to rain, it's going to rain. That big black cloud does seem to have moved away.
Wide again through there. He's
wide. And Young's car is just about dragged out of the way. Still yellow at the first corner, though, so no chance for Huffy to take advantage this time. And Muller, in a couple of laps, will have that car fully back under control. Huff may end up losing a couple of points again to him here. Coronel leading by almost a second, but not escaping.
Fastest lap again for Coronel, so he's just edging out that lead.
A long string of cars. Huff was quickest in the first sector last time round, Tarquini in the second, and the little tractor is heading back to its position. Daryl Young in the middle there, squeezed as Huff came up the inside, but Huff, in fairness, had almost a wheel on the grass. There's Huff, car number 2. He's on the inside. Daryl's trying to find a bit of room. Oh, and it was the Seat of Gabriele Tarquini that actually did the damage, as Young got onto the brakes to try and allow Huffy a little bit of an overlap to get cleanly in front of him. And unfortunately, Darrell is now out of the gravel, but I'm sure will be heading to the pits. And their problem is now they're coming up fast behind him. He's going to have to watch the mirrors. They may actually catch him before he gets to the pit lane. And of course, he will be sprinkling gravel liberally through the S's. Who's going to learn about that first? The man whose lead has come down by a 10th, Tom Coronel.
Yeah, both the Chevys in second and third now just eaten into that time of Coronel, just pulling the 10th out of him, and that's all we're looking for around here. It's going to be marginal amounts of time. It's
more than a 10th. Coronel is wriggling around the track. He's found some either lubrication or gravel. That view from Ivan Muller showing that Muller is definitely closer in second place to leader Coronel than he was. And Tom's car starting to move around. It was 8 tenths at the line last time. It's going to be no more than a couple of tenths as they turn onto the straight. So Muller and Huff towing right up behind Coronel. And again, no DRS like you have in Formula 1 or anything, but on this straight, Coronel is helping them come up behind him because his car is making the air easier for them to get through. He's the one that punches the hole. Again, Muller's lap is quicker. No, it's not. Coronel a 54.0, Muller a 54.3, and Young has pulled out. Sorry, you're right. Yes, 54.7 to 54.3 on that last lap. So Coronel losing time already. And does that mean he's losing temperature in those tyres?
I don't know. The important thing here is Huffy needs to stay right bolted to Muller's rear bumper. So if Muller does get through, he can go with him. Or if Muller makes a mistake, he's through.
Yeah.
But if he gives Muller air, Muller will be through and away. And
it's all, yeah,
he's got a problem.
You're right. It's all very well saying, yeah, it's important for the team that Chevrolet win and da-da-da-da-da, but now, you're right, Huff not only has to be with Muller, he actually has to be trying to push Muller into Coronel, not necessarily physically, but mentally. He's got to be trying to force Muller into feeling forced to make a move. Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons he has to is because he's got the Volvo of Dahlgren right up his own back bumper. And again, if Muller makes a half move on Coronel that doesn't really work, or makes a mistake and the car moves, Huff has got to be through cleanly, otherwise Dahlgren will get past him.
But as you said, Martin, there's nobody knows this Suzuka circuit in this race better than Tom Coronel.
Absolutely.
So if he can just keep it tight, then he should be able to get to the end.
Coronel leads in the BMW, then it's Muller, Huff, Dahlgren, Menu, and then Tarquini in the first of the Seats, ahead of Nukia, who's again the top independent. Turkington, the second of the yellow cars, the BMW, the yellow and white Aviva BMW, that is in 8th place. He's second in the Yokohama Trophy. Huff defending now against Dahlgren. So again, that corner 8A, as they call it here, the east intersection, the cut through, it's very difficult. It's off camber, both parts of it coming onto the straight, and look how much ground Huff has lost as a result of coming onto the straight out of shape and then having to really defend hard against Dahlgren. Huff's salvation might come from behind that Volvo, because Menu is getting a bit antsy to get through and pick up some more points and keep his championship alive. Now, car 3 and 9, that is Gabriele Tarquini and Darrell Young. That replay was seen by the stewards, and they're going, right, we're going to have a look at that. Tarquini got into Young, but, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, Huffy's lost the ground to Muller because he had to go defensive into turn 1, but then also to turn 2, because as you go into turn 2, the circuit opens up and it leaves a big door on the inside, which Dahlgren could just slid his Volvo into. So he had to keep it really, really tight, and then you'd lose the exit for the run up to 3.
Tarquini there in 6th place. You're a racing driver. From the onboard you saw, did Tarquini deserve that drive-through?
He's got a drive-through, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, it's a rough situation, isn't it? It's,
my view...
I'd have felt pretty choked if I was Young.
My view, Young got fired off, but Young was trying to allow room for Huff to clear him in front. He would have been maybe a fraction earlier on the brakes.
It's a debatable situation.
I know. It's the first corner. I think that's really harsh. But again, you know, in the end, Young was spat off, and it was Tarquini's car that made the contact. Sometimes it's unavoidable. And in that situation, I would think Tarquini is going to be very, very upset about that. That's why probably he's not coming in immediately. I think that he may well have been going to his engineer going, "You are kidding me. Go and argue with
I
them."
think what's evident here is, I mean, there's a big queue, big queue forming behind Coronel now.
Yeah.
He's obviously just...
And behind Nukia as well, Turkington getting very squirrely there.
But Coronel's running at his own pace, making sure he doesn't make a mistake, because he knows one mistake and he's going to have a whole queue of people through.
Well, look, we're only on lap 9, so there's a long time to hold those front-wheel drive cars behind you and make their tyres go off.
But yeah, that's the important thing. If he can hold them up, use the tyres up, is that
Tarquini in the pit lane? Yeah, he's taken it now.
He's
Otherwise,
got 2 or 3 laps to do it. So,
well, we saw earlier, didn't we? Was it earlier this season or last season? I'm forgetting now. Too many races. When Huff stayed out and after 3 laps was black flagged. There is no arguing about it. All big lock up from Nukia and Coronel under pressure, and Huff not close enough, or is he to capitalise on Muller having a run around the outside in turns 5 and 6? They climb back up the hill, and again Nukia there.
That's going to give Huffy an opportunity.
Oh, Muller can't drift out too. In fact, I beg your pardon, that was turns 3 and 4. This is downhill through 5 and 6, and then up through 7.
Unfortunately, you've got to think Coronel's days are numbered there. He's not even at mid-distance, and he's having to hang on. You've got arguably 4 of the quickest cars in the championship breathing down your exhaust pipe.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely right. You have got 4 quicker cars because, of course, Coronel was on the front row because he was only 9th in Q1.
Look how close that. I mean, that's the great thing of these tight circuits.
Yeah.
Huffy goes from the attacker to being the attacked from Dahlgren.
And here's a chance for Menu. No, can't get in. And again, that's a pressure valve relieved from Ivan Muller. And when he sees that Huff's not quite as close, now he can have another stab at Coronel.
Literally, it's like almost a boxing match.
Yeah.
Offense, defense, offense, defense, and everybody back in that chain is doing exactly the same.
And behind, Nukia still holding off Turkington and Fia and Mikulic. Nukia, in a front-wheel drive set, has got 3 BMWs behind him, which will only get stronger. 4 BMWs in a row, because he's got Poulsen there, and Engsler. 5, 6, because he's got Banani behind him. 6 BMWs are up behind Nukia, and they will only get stronger as the race progresses, as long as it doesn't rain. We're not even at half distance yet.
Yeah, the times are slower than Coronel's taking it at his own pace. Driving his race because the times are slower than race 1. It's not track conditions either.
No. On board again with Dahlgren. You saw Huff was struggling there. It was Muller's car that didn't seem to have the setup in race 1. It's Huff's that doesn't seem to be very comfortable here in race 2. And Menu
just
again.
think if Dahlgren's car is strong, and
yeah, no question, but Huff can't stay with Muller. When that little break comes, he does drop away a bit. Well, that was fairly predictable, I think. Tarquini parks it. A drive-through here pretty much puts you a lap behind, so all he's going to do is get in his own way, and that's the end of that for him, I'm afraid. No chance of a point. Leader comes across the line. It is still Coronel by half a second from Muller, from Huff, from Dahlgren, from Menu. That's your top 5. And then behind them, the yellow cars of Nukia and Turkington. Then the other BMWs of Via, Mikulic, Poulsen, Engsler, Banani.
that Volvo does go well through there, doesn't it?
Yep.
I mean, it looks very, very planted.
Well, Robert was saying earlier, wasn't he, yesterday after qualifying, you know, this should be a great circuit for us because we've got a great chassis. The car really likes to turn in. It really works well around the nose. Maybe that's all part of why it's running those really extravagant rear camber angles.
Now, if Muller could get through Coronel here, get the win, that would negate any loss of points in the first race.
Yep.
So he would be back and one race closer to the end of the season.
Yes, exactly right. However, for the first time, Coronel has pulled out time on Muller on that lap. Now we're at the tipping point. We've gone past mid-distance, lap 14 now of our 23. And so now are we starting to see that the BMW is maybe finding the pendulum swinging in his favour for Tom Coronel. Muller's right back with him now. And up through the twisty stuff, it's still, I mean, we've seen all last year and all this year, you can't fault the chassis in that Chevy Cruze. No matter what else, it has got a great race chassis, that car. Its ability to find grip in corners that others can't has been, absolutely exemplary. And yet, comes onto the straight. Muller's not in shooting distance.
Say, I mean, Polestar have got that Volvo firing now, Martin.
Yeah,
the corners.
No,
you
absolutely.
The front end on it.
You're absolutely right.
It's not straight line advantage he's got on the Chevy. It's absolutely the chassis is working really, really well.
It properly is. If it can harass the Chevys like this. Oh, and he's pulling off. Something's gone. Now, it may be electronics, it may be that the turbo boost pipe has come off or something, and he's now got a low compression 1.6 litre normally aspirated engine.
Oh, that's a shame.
That is a real shame, although actually, is he picking up speed again? No, I'm not sure he is.
Maybe lost a gear or...
I don't think he looks very quick there. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see him pull into the pits, but as Menu moves up to 4th...
He's not coming in.
It's not yet, so... See that, again, that suggests to me that's electronic. Broken turbo pipes don't fix
Coronel
themselves.
quicker than Muller again that lap, just edged out a couple of tenths.
Well, he's back to only half a second in front. It got out nearly to 7 tenths. Oh dear, overtaking under yellow flags, Mehdi Banani. Dear, it's really not very...
That's another fine. Jeepers, there's a few fines gone out this week.
Yeah, well, Japan's a long way to go. I expect it, costs a lot of money for the stewards to get there.
Especially they want to fly first class back.
Couldn't comment. Michel Nukia still hanging on to 6th position. Robert Dahlgren still in front of him. Nukia on the overall podium in race 1. And of course, this is the Yokohama Independent Trophy battle. Nukia ahead of fellow independent Turkington, fellow independent Via, then Mikulits, then Poulsen, then Engstler, then Banani, although he'll get a drive-through now, which will promote Alexei Dudicalo into 12th position.
I wonder if it's something just as crazy as, because the Volvo did go just quiet, didn't it? Like it was almost freewheeling for them. Whether he did something as daft as hit the kill switch or something like that, knocked a switch or knocked the ignition, because you are quite busy in the cockpit.
Yeah. If that was the case, then they need to move it a long way further away from the steering wheel. There's Freddie Bart and Gabriele Tarquini. Freddie in the background.
For Sunred this weekend.
No, I didn't actually note that Freddie wasn't on the grid, but so Montero didn't start, Bart didn't start, Tarquini retired after a drive-through and possibly other problems with the cars. Well, it's been a bit curate tech, because actually for Nukia in that yellow Seat, it's been a brilliant weekend so far. Overall podium, 3rd position for the pole position Denmark driver. You can't argue with that. He's delighted with that, and that's, how much fun and ebullience is in him now as he's hanging on in front of Turkington. Yeah, he's determined not to give this away.
Yeah, but Turkington in the Viva BMW is right on his tail.
Yeah, and has been right since the moment they turned into here on the first lap. But can't. He's got alongside once, in the same way that Muller got alongside Coronel once, or started an overlap, but was not able to complete it. Banani takes his drive through. And I tell you, the laps pass very quickly. I still haven't got my head around this. Lap 18 already.
I'm just looking at the time difference between Coronel and Muller again, and he's back on his tail. Ivan's put in a very quick front sector.
Well, look at Nukia there in that yellow Seat. Last lap a 56.0, leader's doing a 55.5, so he's only half a second off the front running pace. But just can't close on this group. It's now a gang of 4. Coronel leads from Muller, Huff, Menu, and then Dahlgren is closing back up on them.
4 laps to the win for Tom.
Yep.
But Huffy's there again.
Coronel has only won once in World Touring Car Championship racing. That also came in Japan, and that was courtesy of some very, very savvy thinking, having slicks on the front of his Seat and wets on the back in a wet but no longer raining track at TI Aida. And
he's definitely got 4 Chevys, knocking 3 Chevys and a Volvo now is knocking at the door, hasn't he?
You saw Huff running wider and Muller, Menu rather, in the background running wider, still having a look around the outside in
just shows the pace because Dahlgren's back on him now.
Yep, he is back on them. Dahlgren, in fact, is right with Menu, so you're absolutely right. Something odd has happened there, and again, you know, as I said, turbo pipes don't blow off and then blow back on again. It must have been an electronic glitch of some kind, and whether or not he knocked something off or hit the pit lane speed limiter button in the middle of a corner in a handful of opposite lock, who knows? But he is all over Menu again. And unfortunately for him, it means he's all over Menu for 4th rather than all over Huff for a spot on the podium. And that's a big difference, isn't it? You know, even if he got by Menu, he'd only be 4th, whereas on the podium's on the podium.
Yeah. Big difference.
And it's not an awful lot of points, but it's on the podium. It's a physical thing that has a really big, you know, thumbs-up feel to it. At the moment, he's only 5th anyway, so it's Huff who will finish on the podium behind Muller. That's me. Muller carries a lot of speed into the beginning of the cut-through, doesn't he?
He was definitely showing his nose into there.
Yeah. Coronel's very cautious going in because he's driving all the way through it. Menu defending hard down the inside in the way that Huff was having to 10 laps ago. Before whatever it was that ailed Dahlgren ailed him, and Dahlgren's on the inside, but the next corner's a right-hander, a left-hander coming right towards us, and Dahlgren can't hold on through that little S. Contact, but they both survive. Dahlgren was trying to get his nose out when he knew he couldn't stay alongside there. There was a little bit of contact. Game on. And unless that has punctured Menu's tyre or knocked a valve off, which it hasn't, he's not immediately slowing, then they should be A-OK to continue.
2 and a bit laps to go for Tom.
Yep. Coronel leads from Muller and Huff, and at this rate, Muller will score 18 to Huff's 15, so the gap will go out from 10 to 13 points, with then 100 remaining in the season for the main championship contenders. Again, barely more than 10% of the possible score is the gap between them. 10th place is the difference between finishing 4th and your rival not finishing at all, or your rival winning and you finishing 3rd, so it's not a big gap. Penultimate lap of the race, lap 22 of 23 in what has been predominantly a very clean race so far. Unfortunately, rather short in terms of overtaking. Coronel has led every metre, and his car's still looking fairly sideways, isn't it? Not as sideways as Stefano D'Aste was on the streets of Porto, where he was on the lock stops all the way round, trying to hold off the Chevys. And then that was his first time in the turbocharged car. Michel Nucca comes down the hill, still in 6th. Colin Turkington again glued to the back bumper. Last lap then, Coronel from Muller and Huff. The gap was 0.39 at the line. That may be the smallest it's ever been over Muller.
Yeah, Muller had closed the 10th on that last lap. He's absolutely glued. He's going to... This is where he can make a little jump on Huffy on the points-wise. Yep. So if he can get through, and Turks is all over the back of
but well. Turks is under pressure from Via, and he's got Mikulits and Poulsen and Engsler there as well.
We might not have had much overtaking this race, but it's been proper edge of the seat stuff,
has been quite edge of the seat, hasn't it? Well, there was Muller's opportunity. If Tom didn't get it wrong into 8A, Muller had no chance, because out of 8B and down the hill, Coronel heads to victory. His 2nd ever World Touring Car Championship win. He is still yet to win outside Japan. That's some sort of bizarre record, but they don't care. They don't care if they have to win on the moon or in Mars. It's a win. Muller 2nd, Huff 3rd, Menu 4th, but importantly, Tom Coronel claims his first win in a BMW, his first for Royal Motorsport. Nucca held off Turkington for 6th.